An important end-time truth is that many of the plagues in the book of Exodus will happen again in the times that are described in the book of Revelation. The only one who is able to bring this about is the Messiah, as we are shown in Revelation chapter 5 verse 4 and 5. John wrote, "And I wept much, because no one was found worthy to open the scroll, or to look in it. 5 One of the elders said to me, Do not weep. Look, the Lion who is of the tribe of Judah, the root of David, has overcome so that he can open the scroll and loose its 7 seals." As these seals are open in the following chapters, Yahushua regulates what is happening as he carries out his Father's plan, as it was presented in Exodus. The departure of the Israelites in the book of Exodus had to be a profitable release, so that the promises the Creator made to Abraham, Isaac and Jacob, about 500 years or so before the Exodus, would be fulfilled. Some of the promises were given in Genesis chapter 15 verse 13. And he said to Abram, Know for certain that your descendants will live as foreigners in a land that is not theirs, and they will be enslaved there. And they will oppress them 400 years. And 14. But I will also judge the nation whom they will serve. And afterward they will come out with many possessions. If the Almighty wanted, the Exodus could have been a great escape. But it had to be done in a specific way. Pharaoh had to give them a proper release. What is the scriptural proof of that? Exodus chapter 10 verses 22. Moses stretched forth his hand toward the sky, and there was a thick darkness in all the land of Egypt 3 days. 23. They did not see one another, neither did anyone rise from his place for 3 days, but all the children of Israel had light in the dwellings. Considered that, during the 3 days of darkness, they could have walked out unchallenged. But they were not instructed to do that. It had to be a release. The strange thing is that the 7 plagues in the book of Revelation consist of most of the same ones that happened in the book of Exodus. The plagues reloaded. Only this time it will be globally. This is from a 2013 study that I did. So why did Yahovah repeat those plagues as a part of the final judgment? Rampant idolatry, pride, and no willing knowledge or pursuit of truth. Also there is going to be strong opposition to the Almighty's will and also to people who do His will. High emphasis will be on people doing what is right, but primarily for themselves. And there are also possibly other reasons for the plagues that I don't know about. However, Amos chapter 2 also gives a list of sins that causes the Almighty Yah to bring His judgment on peoples and the nations. Proverbs 14 verse warns in verse 34, Righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a disgrace to any people. Many average non-believers and unconverted persons in this era would have an attitude comparable to that of the Pharaoh of Exodus, in the estimation of Yah. Ignorance of the Creator. No desire to know Him, and thinking to themselves that their will and their plans are best, even when they conflict with the divinely inspired word of the Almighty Creator. Isaiah chapter 55 verse 8. My thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares Yahovah. 9. For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so my ways are higher than your ways and my thoughts than your thoughts. The first mention of plagues that I found is in the book of Genesis 12 verse 17, and Yahovah plagued Pharaoh and his house with great plagues because of Sarai, Abram's wife. But in the end times, it will be the bridal array, called the body of Yahushua, that Yah will be fighting for. Those plagues that will be poured out by angelic messengers will be comparable to what the Almighty did because of Sarai. There will also be a dividing of elements for the Israelites to escape. Zechariah chapter 14 verse 3. Then shall Yahovah go forth, and fight against those nations, as when he fought in the day of battle. 4. And his feet shall stand in that day upon the Mount of Olives, which is before Jerusalem on the east, and the Mount of Olives shall cleave in the midst thereof toward the east and toward the west, and there shall be a very great valley, and half of the mountain shall remove toward the north, and half of it toward the south. 5. And ye shall flee to the valley of the mountains, for the valley of the mountains shall reach unto Azal. Yea, ye shall flee, like as ye fled from before the earthquake in the days of Uzziah king of Judah. And Yahovah my Elohim shall come, and all the saints with thee. Plagues are also mentioned in about 24 different scriptures, including about 10 times in the book of Revelation alone. Revelations chapter 9 verse 20. And the rest of the men which were not killed by these plagues yet repented not of the works of their hands, that they should not worship devils, and idols of gold, and silver, and brass, and stone, and of wood, which neither can see, nor hear, nor walk. The attitude in this Revelation scripture closely described the attitude of the Pharaoh of the Exodus. This was also the attitude that many of the people who went out in the mixed multitude had. No matter how many miracles they saw, it did not increase their faith. Faith comes by hearing the word of Yahovah, and applying what has been learned. As it was at the beginning, so too the Almighty will bring about at the end of the current era of human rulership and establish the Creator's divine kingdom. Daniel chapter 2 verse 44, And in the days of these kings shall the Elohim of heaven set up a kingdom, which shall never be destroyed. And the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever.